Welcome to Chain Film Festival. I'm here with the films Beauty Sleep. And I'm so happy to have Alex and Elena and Marcus with us. How are you all?
Hi, good to see you.
Hello, hi there.
Hi there.
So, Alex, I want to first, I want to give a shout out to the fact that you managed to do so much. I mean, how long is this film? Like a minute and a half?
It's 90 seconds, and it was for as a challenge in the UK called Depict. You have to make a film in up to 90 seconds. So I thought that would be worth a bash. I've been making ever sort of decreasing films. As it were. My first student film was almost half an hour. Then I did a run of what's called straight eights, made of Super 8, and it was like you were lucky enough to show Blue Murder last year. That was one of my straight eights, sort of 3.5 minutes, and now I'm down to 90 seconds. So I'm not sure I can go much smaller, but I seem to be squeezing more and more in to a shorter space of time, which I think is good training for a filmmaker and good fun. And it's something that basically we made this literally just after the first easing of the first lockdown in the UK. Basically, we were completely shut between sort of middle of March and May, and then they changed things so that you could do sort of some stuff but not other stuff. And there was this sort of 90-second challenge coming up, and I thought, well, what can you do? You know, using the sort of the social distancing things, and in 90 seconds. So that's how it kind of came about, really.
Well, that's a wonderful way to get some work going while all this is happening in the world. And I'm shocked to know that people were still running film contests during like Go Make a Movie with COVID going on. But it's wonderful because it's so hard for all of us right now and not being able to create and talking to the actors. What was it like being on set with this new world we're living in? For this short film?
It was certainly a very new experience for myself, but equally, maybe because I had worked with Alex before, the familiarity was there, so thank God for that. But yeah, we were actually in two beautiful locations. I mean, the first one was quite a rundown but quite cool location in East London. And the second one was at Turvey House, which is absolutely stunning. Yes. So it was just unbelievable. So much so we loved the entire experience. I did, for sure. I loved the entire project and the experience, and the fact that we got in the middle of this crazy time, we actually had this amazing chance to look at a fairy tale, which is, a pretty major thing, because we are like, it's fairy tales that imbue our psyche really as kids, right? So, they're the first things that enter our brain. And here comes Alex and goes, well, let's go and have a look at Sleeping Beauty, and see what we could do with this, and can we, reinvent it, and what could the princess do that has never been done before. And there comes, Alex with this amazing idea, which I thought was absolutely a gem, and I definitely wanted to be part of it. Not only that, but he goes, oh, can you do some lines in Romanian? I'm Romanian by birth, yeah. So, and I go, yay! So it was amazing. Thank you, Alex, once again. Seriously.
That's awesome. And Marcus, what was your experience like?
Yeah, no, it was glorious. I mean, I was lucky enough to work with Alex on a previous film, Organ Failure, that was shot at West London Studios, and that was just pre-lockdown, and that was a great experience. But yeah, it was the first COVID shoot that we did, and it's funny though, because I think it was nice I remember it being such a glorious day, and it was just so beautiful, the building. Is it a grade 1 listed building, Alex?
I think so,
it is.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and it was so picturesque. It was literally spine tingling. Elena and I drove up together, and I think we were kind of spellbound. I was sort of speechless when I saw it, and it was perfect, because we'd obviously had a reading over a Zoom call prior, and yeah, the shoot was a little bit strange, sort of being in masks and having to keep the distance. I think with actors, you're so used to sort of getting quite close up to people, and it being quite an intimate experience. So I think did have to keep reminding ourselves to sort of keep those social distance be under social distance conditions. But overall, I think it was a great experience, and Elena and Alex were sort of fantastic to work with. Obviously, a very skeleton crew, and David was another cast member as well. We were all pretty tight knit. David I'd worked with on a previous film as well. So yeah, no, it was a very positive experience.
Yeah, Alex, I think it was a great. Sorry.
I would only add to this, Kirk, just as an inside joke, just to show how much we love this. Marcus and I, we keep teasing Alex to actually make the feature-length version of the film.
It was such a glorious location, and being there for such a short space of time, it was frustrating to only have a day there. But I guess you'd much rather it be that way than wanting to get out of a place. So we do keep teasing him. We're hoping this call might be the one that flips him over the edge, and he's going to announce that there's going to be a feature. Aren't you, Alex?
Yeah, well, I do have another location that I'm interested in, which I'm possibly back on that idea again now, Marcus. So maybe we'll watch this space. We'll see what happens. But
there is hope, Elena.
I mean, I know it's so short, but it would be nice to make it longer. But I always conceive these films, however short they are, I try and make them kind of complete, in the sense that I know. A lot of short films tend to be maybe sort of one sort of location or scene sort of thing, but I try and sort of get as much in and try and make them a whole as a short as such, and then so that the idea is sort of fully in there, and then that sort of doesn't leave a huge amount left. I don't want anything left behind, if you see what I mean. So that's why I kind of it's a whole to me, and I think anything beyond that would be something kind of different, for which I don't have a sort of specific idea, but that idea, I think that's encapsulated in that little film. So that's sort of where I'm at with it.
No, I mean, I think that's a healthy way to look at it too, because there's so many short films that are made to present for the feature, or like they're like, oh, I made this scene so I can try and do the feature later, or like it's a proof of concept for a web series or something. But it's really exciting to hear a filmmaker who's like, no, that's what I wanted that to be, and that's what it is. And that doesn't mean that you all don't get to work together again. You get to create something new. And that's what's so cool about this, particularly independent film, is you form these families and then you find new ways to stretch and work together again. Alex, yeah, and how did you think of that building right away? I mean, immediately, or did you?
Yeah, well,
the concept.
It's kind of pretty prosaic, really. I mean, as I say, things were so restricted at that time. I was just browsing through some sort of location companies and seeing what they had available, because obviously a lot of locations wouldn't have been available anyway to film. So I contacted the location agents and just asked them, and they sort of sent me a list of locations that would be sort of viable to film. And then the first one I saw was a sort of Georgian house with a spiral staircase and a checkerboard floor. And it was not the actual building that we used in the end. That one wasn't available, but it just sort of made me think of sort of Sleeping Beauty. I don't know how or why, but it just did. And then I constructed the film around it. And then we found a location that proved to be sort of so much nicer in the end anyway. So that was a fairly big change. But that's okay. I think, the other thing, I was thinking about it now. I knew you'd sort of ask me why I would come up with that idea, but maybe just the whole lockdown thing, it's as if we're all in a sort of a deep sleep, isn't it? The whole world is in some deep slumber. So maybe that sort of infused the idea. I think that's possibly something to do with it. And I think we sort of look back to sort of childhood in these ways when we're sort of stuck here. And I think a lot of sort of news articles have sort of said how people are sort of looking back to things. And so maybe that's what sort of dredged up the idea. Sort of, I've got my old sort of, Ladybird books out just to sort of see the images I would have seen when I read these stories, a long time ago. So, I think that's sort of part of it somehow. It's all sort of rolled into one, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and it's really exciting to be able to talk to you across the world, and even being able to see filmmakers that we don't necessarily get to see every year because they can't travel. So it has opened up ideas for us and for what we're able to do in the future, even for people that are international filmmakers. But we're so excited to have you, and this film, and look forward to seeing any more of your work. I think everybody did a fantastic job in the piece, and a minute and a half, what a ride, right? That's so awesome. I really thank you for joining us here.
Thanks so much for having us.
It's a pleasure. Look forward to being back with the feature.
Bye, New York.
Hey, I'm David Ray, and I'm here with Jack Zulo, director, writer, performer of My Balls on Your Supercar. Thank you so much for joining us, Jack. How's it going?
It's going great. Just a little correction. I technically was not the director. I brought a friend on, Eric Michael Kochmer. He wanted to be here today, but he's having lunch with the filmmaker.
Copy that. My bad, everybody. It is Eric Michael Kochmer.
Yeah.
Copy that. Awesome, man. Well, first of all, congratulations. Those 3 minutes were a lovely, funny bit.
Cool.
I personally have 2 questions. One, is this going to be a series? And the answer is no. Then it's 2. Question number 2, why not?
Well, it is technically a series. There is a second My Balls on Your Supercar where I don't want to spoil it, but we got another gigantic, amazing, over $300,000 worth car. And the thing is, doing them, it's actually really easy to do them, especially living in a big city like Los Angeles. I kind of want to do one in New York as well.
Mm-hmm.
And, I kind of do them as it comes up and as I really feel the need to make myself laugh. So there's a second one out there, and I'd probably like to do like a few more of these.
I mean, I don't think my opinion is that Super Lefty Jack doesn't just have to live putting balls on expensive cars. I think whatever Super Lefty Jack is itching for, he can go scratch, I think.
Well, to your point, David, I have in my mind's eye, I have My Balls on Your Supercar special edition where I go do that at a different place. That isn't necessarily a car, but a place where a Super Lefty Jack feels the need to bring attention to his cause.
Fantastic. I love the idea that I feel that Super Lefty Jack can really go anywhere. It can go any part of the country. I think Super Lefty Jack can go all over the world, really, because it's not about being in our nation's capital or being in the United States. It's just about the cause, is what I felt. Where did Super Lefty Jack come from? And when did you birth the idea of not just the short, but as like the guy?
Well, I mean, obviously, I line up as a common sense liberal, I guess. Super Lefty Jack is basically me, but like just taking my most extreme, outrageous thoughts and then like bringing them to life. Like I understand that we live in a world that works to a certain degree. It's pretty incredible, but that system needs to be constantly evolving and tweaking and taking care of the people who are marginalized and I don't know about evening the playing field to a certain degree, because in the end life is not fair. To proclaim that life is fair and that everyone is worth the same value, I think would be a lie. But Super Lefty Jack is kind of me on like what would be like a drunken rant in a conversation where like I'm being polarized more liberal. Like it's like if someone's like, well, I believe this is how it should be, and I'm like, well, that's a really stupid idea and that's dumb and it's based on like 19th century thought process, but you're trying to exercise that in a 21st century world. I'd sometimes get pushed further and further left. So it's like me being pushed further and further left, playing devil's advocate, really.
I feel Super Jack is easily triggered this year.
Yes. Well, I mean, just to go on what would be a super lefty Jack rant, it would be like you elected a failure who fails repeatedly, and is bolstered by, you're always going to find other people who are obsessed with money and feel that money is the answer and worship at the altar of money. But I've seen it happen before on a smaller scale. Eventually the con runs out and you crash and burn. And we're watching just somebody's trauma. This is literally the worst trauma that in my opinion, someone like Trump could go through. Is just like losing at the most epic stage, proportionally, where your response to a pandemic has been awful. I mean, I keep telling everybody, it's like this bottle of booze brought to you by my Uncle Trump, who messed up the COVID response. So we're all getting paid unemployment. Not all of us, but yeah. So yeah, you can see I could spin out far left, but I usually come back and land left of center and common sense.
It's a good place to be, sir. On a technical level, how long to shoot that day until getting to the meat of your cause?
Well, it's a scout, obviously. So we're basically combining a location scout while I'm talking to camera and riffing, and that adds to it. And in the second one, for example, I had the director Eric, who the first time he shot it, the second time one of my other friends was like, "That's amazing, I want to be a part of it." So he came as a camera guy, and they kept being like, "Well, it's okay if we don't get one." And Eric was like, "Listen, man, if we don't get one, I can still get something out of this. I can still get something out of this." But the payoff always has to be, the GoPro close up that gets pixelated
For the touch and go.
Yeah, and then the running away. To me, that is the payoff. So it's about probably an hour and a half scout and shoot total. And sometimes we get in the car, we go from neighborhood to neighborhood where we would expect to find cars of that value.
Right on. And also, again, apologize for not mentioning the director properly, but Eric is also the voiceover narrator for the piece.
Yes.
And what a great touch that was. I felt he has a great voice, and I feel like the spiel building up to just the moment was fantastic. So props to him as well. Great voice.
Thanks, man. And as far as the inspiration initially, I would be remiss to say I had this idea batting around in my head. I was on the Champs-Élysées with my girlfriend Jen, and I was kind of pitching it to her. And if I could pitch something to her and she laughs and likes it, that's like when the seed has sprouted. So I was on the Champs-Élysées in, I guess this would have been 2018 in February, where like the thought, when the pitch was accepted and laughed at by Jen, the thought germinated and became a reality.
Having your partner laugh at your ideas is always a good sign, because all you really need is somebody else to be in on it for to creatively move forward.
Yeah, and then David, to that point about Eric and the building of it, I think that's a fun juxtaposition of me walking around being like, I'm this and that, and I'm feeling a certain way. And then it's watching through somebody else who winds up in a similar political mindset as I do. But he gets to watch it and then comment on it. And I think that hopefully gives the audience the freedom to comment on it in a way that they see fit as well.
I was on board from moment one. With the style that you went for, and the just visually the style with the narration, the choosing of font. I was like, I'm in wherever you go. And then for the punchline to be just so instant and just roll credits, it was medicinal. It was just what was needed. So yeah, I appreciate it. I'm a big fan, obviously, as you can tell.
Well, thank you, man. Again, it's when you do something that's as out there and weird as that. That's just really, I'm just trying to make myself laugh. And some of the things I say, it's how I feel about rampant, unbridled capitalism versus what I like to call profit over humanity. When profit becomes more important than humanity, because the idea of profit in a late stage capitalism system is is kind of a trickle down economics of like, well, if all these people make all this money, that money is going to trickle down to the population. And the thing is, as we move forward under that guise, people find more and more ways to hide their money or to take that money and invest it into stock buybacks instead of the American worker, the American people. And unfortunately, some people are dumb enough to realize the people who are trickling down on them are dictating on them to a certain degree. So my hope is just to make people laugh and make people think. And if a nugget of truth rings out with somebody that they can identify with, all the more. And I'm glad, David, you are one of those people. So thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Well, we have the crew of You're the Puppet here with us. We're so excited to show this film. It's just so cool. And I have so much to ask you about. So if you could just introduce yourselves, that would be great.
So I wrote and directed the film. And then Chad, you want to go?
Yes, I was the puppet builder and the puppeteer. So I guess also puppet choreography.
Nice.
Eric Anderson, I play Laramie, and I was also the voice of Leonard.
Nice. This film is really interesting because it finds that level of satire that it points like it really is kind of feels real of this real relationship between a man and his other self or his puppet. And I was curious of how all this works. So there was a puppeteer for a good percentage of this. I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Totally hidden from me. Can you talk about the actual physical process of how that worked?
Yeah, Chad. I mean, Chad actually built the puppet too from scratch. Like we designed what we wanted and gave it to him, and he went and bought the parts and made it. So you want to talk about that, Chad?
Yeah, I've been building puppets, I guess, for about almost 20 years.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I've been in various puppet groups. And so I built the puppet and then just working out the different, like I said, choreography for the puppet, but it's also for me of the different positions that I have to get in particular scenes, like when the puppet sits on the couch or if he's, at a table, or we have to make it all look like I'm not there.
Yeah, and it's amazing to me to imagine figuring out how the camera angles and all of this work to have this object. I'm always amazed by this kind of work. I really just am. I really dig it. About how the heightened sense of awareness and that this character is actually more volatile than you'll ever usually see a puppet other than like a horror movie. Can you talk about the writing process too for this and what inspired this?
Yeah, I mean, so the whole thing came about because I met Chad on another project before this that he was acting in. And when we met, we talked about puppets and how much, we both love puppets. And so like the whole time I was making that other project, I was like, I need to come up with something with puppets. And so it was a combination of that. And just, I work with a lot of stand-up comics. I love stand-up comedy. So it was a natural thing to bring those two together. And then like you were saying, like the process, like you see a lot of these, if you look behind the scenes of a Muppet movie, they have a floor that's, 4 feet up and there's a puppeteer underneath doing this. And those scenes in their house was some of the hardest things I've ever shot. And usually like just a quick two-person conversation is real easy, but like Chad's on the floor, squeezed down doing this, trying to make it look like he's out of frame. And it was fun, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it's really it's incredible. There's incredible writing here too, because the whole circumstance of this really has to come back to the fact that it's going to be funny and it's going to be a stand-up show, and so rarely do I see a high concept piece like this where it just sticks the landing and like is genuinely funny with the act. What was the process of creating that act? Was this ever tried out in front of people, or you just knew you had it on paper?
Yeah. So for the first act that they do, the first scene, it was Chad and who does a lot of improv comedy, and 3 other comedians I know, and we got together and we just brainstormed ideas. And when they left, I had 2 pages of ideas that I was able to then construct into an act. And then the second one, we had a bunch of ideas already. But the comedian Pat Dean, who's in the movie as himself, he plays the host there, and he actually is the manager of that comedy club, was just like laying on a bench and just throwing out one-liners for the puppet to say. And that's almost exclusively what we use. The stuff that he was just like laying there, say this, and we would say it and it would kill. And so we just kept doing that. And that was a lot of fun. Bringing these experienced comedians in to help do that.
I knew it had to be people at the top of their game too. And like, that's the hard arc too for this. Everything about this is hard. I think people would look at this and not really grasp how difficult this entire process is for this short film. And Eric, you performing with your partner the whole time is a puppet. So it was, how much of that is you controlling the puppet, or
well, there were a couple of scenes like where you see Laramie and Leonard together. Chad actually coached me on how to make the puppet move and eat in very heavy detail as well. And or even when I'm at the sitting at the bar, and I had to I'm looking down at the agent's card and having to move my hand. I had to do two things at once. It's like right brain's controlling Leonard, left brain's controlling Laramie. And it was, that was one of the hardest things I've done. There was a scene we tried to get where Leonard is throwing out all the insults and roasts at the end towards Laramie, and I couldn't get this face correct where my I had to have a voice that's where Leonard is actually just screaming at the crowd and trying to make them laugh, and I have to have this concerned look on my face, but I could not stick that look. And one of the guys on set came out to us and said, "Dude, I don't even want to be doing what you're doing right now at all." And I just was kicking myself the whole time because I could not get that correct. But for the small amount of puppetry I did, Chad did a phenomenal job teaching me like the details on just how to move the puppet, even little details like moving his eyebrows or to get
breathing, even just breathing.
Exactly.
I mean, Chad, you're such an artist. That character is so fully developed throughout this, and that right brain, left brain thing that you're talking about, I totally saw it. I totally, like, just as a performer, I was looking at that and I'm like, how difficult is this moment right now? And I've seen other things where I've just been in awe of that, where you're trying to do two different things at once. The fact that the puppet is reacting differently than the character is reacting, it hurts my brain to think about how to do that, and finding the balance in that. And are you a stand-up by trade, or a stand-up performer?
Eric?
Stand-up? No, I've done a few open mics where I guess bombing is modest, but but it's but there's been one of the things, it's the open mics that I have done did kind of prepare me for being on being on stage, and even though I'm acting in front of a crowd, but having the puppet made it that much more challenging. And but it's as far as stand up by trade now.
Okay, I mean, you really feel comfortable up there in the movie. It reads like, I was wondering, and actually watching it, I was like, is this guy a stand up?
Oh no, it's but on the stage with the puppet, with those kinds of eyes on you, I'm hiding my anxiety very, very well in those scenes. So but I'm really glad that but just that was what really got me focused off of that, was the right and the left brain. just trying to get that right. And that made it much more easy to focus on.
Well, you're a brilliant performer and actor.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I didn't see any of that anxiety at all. I just saw you grappling with this entity that was going to take over your life and eventually seems to succeed.
Yeah.
It's kind of got like a Twilight Zone thing too.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I really have to say, like, I love the look of the film. It has that kind of blue tint to it. Like, it looks like everything is designed. I don't know how much is it or not, but like even just the color of the walls in his apartment look like they ring true for what like that there's a design element through this entire thing. And was that just by accident, or
no? That was definitely on purpose. Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely our director of photography was very like, he wanted to bring that blue color in to do that, to make it kind of ominous when the puppet's alive in there, and match his color.
It's beautiful. And it's so well written and performed. I'm so happy to meet you all. And I hope that you all work together again soon, because I would love to see either an extension of this story or new ideas, because I know how difficult this is, and you just nailed it.
Yeah, we're actually filming something this weekend, the three of us.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you reach out, because I want to be one of the first people to get a chance to see it.
Oh, awesome.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you for joining us here at the Chain Film Festival. I'm here to celebrate the film Caprock, and I have the writer-creator, the director, and one of the stars of the film. Actually, two of the stars of the film, because the writer is one of the stars of the film. How are you all doing today?
Doing well.
Doing great. Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Well, we're so happy to have you. You're all based in Texas?
Yes.
Yes.
West Texas. Middle of nowhere. We're the only movie people out here.
Well, James, you had a film in our festival last year, Carnage Radio. And we had a wonderful experience screening that and had great reactions to that. And we were so happy to see that you submitted again this year.
We're really hoping to be able to visit y'all this year. Last year, we had a bunch of festivals happening back to back. And I had some health issues going on right at that time also, and I wasn't able to travel. And so we were kind of spread kind of thin. And we were really hoping to visit this year. And then the world ended. And so here we are. But we'll be submitting again. So we'll try to make it out next time.
We'd be happy to have you again. And
absolutely.
And it's very nice to meet you, Holly. Can you talk a little bit about the script and how it was created, and then the process it went through to come to fruition?
Sure. Well, I had worked with James just a little bit on the short film Carnage. So we had submitted some original music that he used, and that's how we kind of got connected there. And I had this idea kind of out of the blue. Like, I like to mess around with writing, and horror is my favorite genre, and it's fun. So basically, this story came from an experience I had in a truck stop restaurant. I was eating with my husband there, and just the waiter, the experience that we had there, the environment, everything was very vintage. It just had this older vibe, and I felt like I was in a different time, in a different place, and the story just kind of started rolling. And I met this guy that was serving us, and he fit the criteria. He had he was going to be my new monster basically for this story. But yeah, so I went home and I thought about it, and I was like, I need to try to incorporate basically some stuff from my hometown that I already know. So part of the story is based off of a ghost story that we grew up with that was inspired by true events in Big Spring, Texas, which is where Zach and James live. So there were a lot of elements in the story. We wanted to tie in a lot of our West Texas landscape and some of our, just things that mean something to us here in Snyder. So we filmed some in Snyder and some in Big Spring, and I don't know, the story was a little bit longer. I sent it to James, and like he said, it was just a little bit, we had to consolidate it. We had to figure out how we were going to do it on a lower budget. So he kind of did some heavy editing on the story, and it worked out really well to do a short. But basically, that was it. It was the waiter that gave me the idea. And I think that Zach personifies that character so well. He did a great job with that.
Yeah, and we have Zach Campbell here also, who plays that scary dude in a restaurant. That you just know that there's a little bit more going on there than meets the eye when we first see him. Zach, can you talk about playing such a role and finding that nuance that you did? It's really cool.
It was a lot of fun as it kind of came to fruition. Holly gave James that story she wrote, and he was kind of running with it, and we were talking about making it, and I just said, dude, what if I play the killer, man? What if I do that? I'd not really acted before, other than Bar Hipster and Carnage Radio is about that long of a part. It really wasn't a part. He just filmed me for a second. Anyway, and as we talked about it, I was trying to think of like, okay, could I have a voice or like some kind of facial thing? The thing that inspired I was thinking it was like Billy Bob Thornton and Sling Blade, something kind of along those lines. But the more we talked about it, the more it was just like, no, let's just kind of make it subtle. And that's really kind of, ended up just kind of talking like I would normally talk, as just voice wise and all that. But yeah, just trying to be just a little creepy, just a little off. And
the mustache.
Yes, the mustache helped. When I shaved before we started filming, the mustache really helped me kind of step in, because I don't have one of those, I can't grow a Magnum PI, like Tom Selleck, sexy mustache. My mustache is very creepy and disturbing. And so it really helped me step into that. And it was a lot of fun. I actually I have a twisted sense of humor that, not to be like a serial killer, but I kind of get tickled when people feel just a little uncomfortable when a joke's just a little like, is he being serious or is he joking? And so it kind of, I don't know, it all kind of was somewhat natural. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but it felt.
That's what I was going to say. You're total natural.
Yeah. Aside from killing people, I felt like it was just, me.
Well, Zach, I mean, there's a lot of actors that work their entire career to find that kind of subtle nuance and layers that you managed to show in this. So kudos. I mean, I would never have guessed that this was like the first thing that you'd ever done.
Yeah, it was fun. The Holly and they just were both great. Jessica, they were great, and made it easy. And then James, just as a director, is he's not a control freak at all when it comes to the actors. He just kind of lets us do our thing, and he's cool with bouncing ideas. So it's very collaborative, which is what I long for as a creator, as an artist. And that's what it was. And it was fun. It was a hard shoot. It wasn't one that we were all like, that was fun, let's do it again. It was like, well, I'm going to take a break for a while. I don't know if I want to do that again, but it was good, And so I really appreciate that. It was a lot of fun to just kind of go, where can this go? And what can we do with this? It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Well, I also want to talk about something that impressed me so much, and this is a testament to Holly and James, and it really calls back to the older horror films, like the pace of it, even in the look of it and the feel of it, and choosing the Chevelle and those kinds of things. Can we talk about how that happened? Because there's a deliberate pace to this that is so on point that you don't see anymore unless you really, really understand the medium.
I was when we started, and I was like, I want to go for an old drive-in movie from the 70s. I want it to have that look. Zach and I worked on the lighting. Zach was behind the scenes producer, helped with cinematography, camera work. Me and Zach, we're partners. We do everything together. And then he threw acting into it. And now he's stuck with acting because I'm casting him and things from now on.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's like my favorite thing now.
Yeah. And, But yeah, I was like, we want to do an old 70s drive-in movie. We want to have that look, even the color grade. I wanted it to have kind of that look to it. And the Chevelle, that's Holly and her husband's car. And 2 days before filming, and they were like, Chevelle's not running. I was like, you got to fix it. I'm like, well, we can find another car. I'm like, no, we have. You don't understand. I mean, I'm the kid from Super 8 going, production value. You got to have the Chevelle. So, and Zach talking about it was a hard shoot. We shot that thing in 2 days. First day we started setting up at 1 p.m. and we shot till 4:30 a.m. and then slept 3-4 hours and started shooting again around 1 p.m. and finished around 2:30 a.m. that night. So it was really quick, fast. Shot a lot of it on a gimbal, on a Ronin, to speed along, get it all set up. And we used a lot of natural lighting. We added little lighting effects here and there, hit some lighting effects, but we would change out light bulbs to make them the right color that we wanted, but we'd use like the lights in the hotel room with some bounce boards. And the motel room was, it was a real motel and a real unique setting that we were kind of scared to sit on the beds. When we saw the place, we were like, this is the perfect place to film. And
It's one of those Snyder, Texas landmarks. It had to be incorporated. It was so perfect. Creepy as it is, and it just fits the theme. That's kind of what we were going for. And I feel like with James and Zach, it's all feel like there's so much, like just the lighting, like you say, that goes into the lighting. Because I watched Poltergeist the other day, and I was just noticing how dark everything was, to where, in certain scenes, during close-up, you can just see like the sparkle of someone's eye, and it just like encapsulates this whole feeling in the scene. Like it wouldn't be the same. And I just don't feel like a lot of movies now incorporate everything so bright. I like to see that older, kind of like analog feeling, vintage feel. I don't know. So I think that James did a good job capturing that. And I don't know if my experience, which was none, I have never acted. And that's, I think they spent a lot of time trying to help me. So my experience was a little bit different than yours, Zach.
Where are you people coming from that you've never been in anything before and you're so wonderful in this? How does this happen?
Everything just fell into place.
Perfectionist.
I've seen people study for 4 years that can't do what you did professionally.
They wanted to act, and I was like, let's do some test shooting. And so like people, they came to my house, and I set up a table. And even Jessica, I had never met Jessica until she came over. I think she's the only one that had experience. She's done stage acting a whole lot, and
yes,
she was perfect. And then I was like, all right, let's give these newbies a try. And Zach is as natural as can be, and Holly did great. And especially when we were filming, there was some stuff that she was doing where I was like, I didn't expect that. And I was like, well done. I mean, I was blown away by a lot of stuff. I mean, she knows how to show fear in her eyes, and it just fell into place. And we all lucked out that talent just is here. So.
And so much just happens like in the moment. I realized that you can go into it with as many preconceived notions as how you're going to sort of implement this stuff. And until you're actually there with the camera rolling, it's not really how you think it's going to be. And even if it is, you're going to reshoot that like 20 times. So you just kind of take the best of what you got and roll with it. But it's very interesting to see how it all comes together, for sure.
And I think the cool thing was that we were all buddies. We all became buddies, and before we started shooting, and then shooting was just fun. We had a lot of fun. As you can see with the gag reel at the end, that was how it was. It wasn't like we need to be scared because it's a scary movie. We were laughing our butts off, and then, okay, guys, here we go, action. You know what I mean? And so it was just a lot of fun, and so playing off each other was easy, and especially when they saw me with the mustache, and they're like, okay, we can't be too serious. Let's just have some fun here. And, we just had a good time.
Yeah, that
Well-
was really hard to concentrate and be serious during the table scene. That was a struggle for me, for sure. I'm like, we would be doing this even if we didn't have a camera there. You're exactly right. Like, this is what we do. We play music and act out skits, and we're all ridiculous people. I'm glad and privileged to work with this group. They're very cool, very funny, very smart, and I enjoyed the experience. So
Well, we
ready to
enjoyed
do-
watching it. It's a wonderful, wonderful film. I can't believe a lot of the things I'm hearing. This is probably one of my most surprising talkbacks I've had so
Oh.
far. Just how it
Awesome.
all worked out, and that you had the Chevelle, and you like it looks like $1,000,000. It does too, and you're both
Well,
so
thank
wonderful
you.
in it. And what James did directing this, it's exciting. It's exciting to see Carnage Radio, and now seeing this and seeing different sides of a director. And my understanding too is that there's a Carnage Radio is being developed for a feature right now.
Yes, we're shooting in May 2021. The short film was a proof of concept, really, and we shot that one. You thought we didn't spend much on Caprock. We spent less on Carnage Radio just to show what we could do with as little as possible. Everyone that worked on that was local. None of them were actors, and it was just trying to get some people interested in it, and it worked. And now the script for the feature has made its way to people in LA. We got some actors interested. We've been approached by people saying, I want to be a part of this. And we're really excited to take ourselves to the next level with this feature. And so.
That's
That is
awesome.
so
That's really exciting.
It's going to be so good.
Yeah, and all these people here that you're looking at are all involved with everything I'm doing. So you'll see them.
You build that team, you build that family. That's what
yeah.
we love here in indie film, just seeing everybody come together and find their people. I really love the film. I loved your film last year. I love this film, and I can't wait to see the next one. I want to thank you all for joining us and for your incredible work. And I hope to see you at Shane 2021 or even sooner, or anytime you're in New York. I hope to get to meet you when things change here.
Yes, us too. That would be so much fun.
Thank you for
Well,
joining
thank
us.
you so much for having us. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Very happy to.
I have with me today Gerard Zara, who is behind my new pants. Welcome. Thanks so much for making this film and submitting it to the festival. This was a lot of fun to watch and to go on this journey.
It's definitely a journey. You end up in an interesting place by the end. Yeah.
And so I first want to start off with something that struck me at the very beginning, which was your use of color. In that very opening shot, we've got some nice bright pops of color. There's the bright yellow, bright blue in that like opening title shot. And then throughout the film, the color just kind of starts to slowly fade away as we get darker and darker. So how intentional was that? And if it was intentional, how difficult was it to make sure that we're going to slowly get darker and darker and not suddenly go from bright colors to darkness?
Right.
If you want to talk about that a little bit.
Sure. Parts were intentional, parts weren't. I mean, certainly we knew the tone from the beginning was going to be a little more fun, a little more of a straight comedy, a little absurd. And then, of course, the yellow pants were very intentional. I just thought there's some hot pants. But, when we were shooing, I think you're thinking of the opening scene. There's like an opening shot when he's at like a blue and yellow garage. We were actually going to shoot at like a garage across the street, which is like a standard brown wall or something. And then we just stumbled in front of that, and then literally the opportunity presented itself. It was a pure coincidence. Yeah. And then from there, we kind of had like a motif with color, and we later on went to shoot. There was a scene when he was with his girlfriend, and then actually our actor, Mike McBride, suggested that she wear blue because we kind of have this blue-yellow clashing thing. So yeah, bits and pieces are intentional, and then serendipity.
Yeah, and it definitely stands out. Like caught my eye, and was also I think the thing that made it stand out is that they were bright bright colors. You have a bright blue, bright yellow with the pants, and especially on that garage wall. And then as we get to the end, we sort of lose all of that, and it gets really, really dark. You also filmed in New York City, on New York City streets.
100%.
So, which I love seeing films that are set in the city, and the city becomes a character and its background. But any challenges to filming in the middle of the street, or just throughout the city where you don't really have control over a lot of things?
I'm trying to think off the top of my head. We shot this a while ago now. I mean, New York is a pretty like film friendly city. You know, they're really, really good to work with. Just the mayor's office of film and television. And then also just in general, like people are pretty savvy here, and they see a camera, they walk by with very little interest. So no, it really wasn't that difficult. Most of the time, most of what we were able to do was without a permit. And then, or just kind of do stuff shadily. And then the one or two instances where we needed to work with the police and get a permit was towards the end. A lot of the night exterior stuff, because night exterior you need lighting, so to get the truck and everything. So yeah, but no, overall it was pretty smooth.
That's great. I mean, we're hearing most people that are setting films in New York are like, no, that's fine.
Yeah, usually if it's like some random like suburban town, then that's all of a sudden where it's like, well, you actually need to sit down with a councilman. Sorry, fuck off. But yeah, New York's usually pretty good with that stuff.
So I also want to talk a little bit about his descent. For lack of a better word, I think that's actually a great word for it. It's his descent.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you film this chronologically, or was it out of order? Because watching it, it doesn't look disjointed. If you film that out of order, it looks like a really nice gradual curve down.
Right.
Which is easy to get if you're filming in order, but sometimes it's a little bit harder if you're not filming chronologically. So what was the filming process, and then how were you able to keep him at the correct level at the correct time?
Right. Yeah, well, so our lead actor, Mike McBride, he's just a great talent in his own right. So there's really not much I have to do to let him, kind of do his thing. But no, we did shoot it largely chronologically. I mean, we shot it in halves. We actually had two different units. We shot half of this in the fall and half of it in the spring. So all of the fall stuff was the first half of the movie, which is largely day exteriors. That's basically most of the film, until I think the midpoint is kind of around when he has the confrontation with his girlfriend. And then we shot that, the girlfriend stuff, and basically everything that comes after it in the spring. There were some logistical reasons why we did that, but it did sort of work out that he had this nice little trajectory. But no, at the end of the movie, the character kind of like really breaks down and gets really emotional. And I thought maybe we could cover it from one, maybe two angles, get one take. He has to kind of blubber crying and all that stuff. We ended up getting like 7 takes of him just going from 0 to 12 each time. And then at the end, Mike turns to me and goes, "Did you get what you need?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got what I needed. It's good. You're fine. Go, here's a tissue." So he's just a great talent to work with.
So I also working with on the aspect of writing it and creating it that way, it ends perfectly.
Yeah.
And so was that anything that, okay, we need to figure out how we're going to end this, or let's workshop a couple different endings, because that ending is the whole film is punctuated by that last moment.
Right.
So perfectly. And when it happened, I should have expected it because it's so perfect, but it also caught me off guard, which is great. So was that from the get-go, was that how you were ending it, or was it something that let's try a couple different things until we find the absolute best way to end this?
Right. Writing this thing, especially because it is such a weird movie, and you described it, it's kind of like a descent. It really wasn't a very cerebral process writing it. I just vomited, and I was like, "Here's the script, let's shoot it." I mean, when I was younger, when I was in film school and stuff, I was probably very into all that Sid Fieldsy Save the Cat, structure and setting up your theme and set up and payoff. I think that stuff is so good to learn and then unlearn it, just so that it's in your DNA. You're not really thinking about it, but it is there. So yeah, obviously the ending, it is really built. A lot is built building to that, and it felt like an appropriate note to end on. But it really was kind of just letting your intuitions guide you, and just starting in one place and kind of knowing we were going to take this weird dark turn, and just wherever that turn, that's sort of the basic thing I knew. And then from there, it was just sort of writing and seeing what happens.
Oh, I love that you let that guide you, because like I said, it's the whole film is punctuated with that ending, and it's just a perfect way to end it. Like, I think at the end, when I finished watching it, I went, oh yeah, that's exactly how you should end this.
That's what he deserves. That's what that character deserves. You know what I mean?
Exactly what he deserves. I feel bad, but that's what he deserves.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much, first of all, for making this film and submitting it for the chain. Thank you for sharing it, not only with us, but with allowing us to share it with our community. And especially, thanks for taking time out of your day to come talk to us about the film. I know these are weird times, and this isn't the ideal talk back, but this was fantastic. And it was a pleasure talking to you and getting to know a little bit about you as a filmmaker and the process behind this film.
Totally. No, likewise. Thank you, Patrick. And thank you guys for actually, doing something and, making the best out of an unideal situation. And I think we're all happy we still have some way to access each other's films and communicate and all that stuff. So thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.